his laptop, but it doesn't want to send tweets. It just says, Twitter problem, not sent. So,
that's unfortunate. But MTG Golly has the correct link?
I think so, yeah. So basically, it's other side of the planet.
Just to make sure we get it.
Yeah, his links to the JPEG of it, but it's other side of the planet.wordpress.com is Griffin's blog. And
is this picture on Facebook with me tagged in it yet?
No,
I don't think so.
.wordpress.blog or .com? Okay, I was about to say .blog. When did that happen?
So that should work. So the one in the center with the big head is Big Head Joe.
All right. Hopefully my link works. That would be awkward. Yay! Yeah. All right. There we go. And so there you go. If you want to see those caricatures that we talked about for 10 minutes or whatever without providing a visual reference.
Right. Sorry about that. I tried. So what was So you said Evan brought them up, and how did you guys end up?
Well, yeah, like Evan just pointed out. Well, Evan knows Justin.
Right.
They've done some stuff together. He did their stickers, of course.
Right.
For
Exactly.
The Player of the Year race.
Right.
So, all right, Rashad does have a hat. What are you talking about, Rashad? You don't own that hat specifically?
You need to buy a hat.
I don't know.
Like
I feel like I've seen you with that hat. Well, I've seen you with one that was like that, but like patterned. It was like that color, but it was like. All right, man. All right. I find that Rashad, I've never worn a hat with a button on the top, except for once.
But it's not. It's like
All right.
Yeah, Justin. For those of you who don't know, Justin's done a lot of interesting things besides the stickers for the Player of the Year race. He also has like a lineup of shirts. In fact, I happen to be wearing one of his shirts right now, which of course we're not on camera right now, but I'm wearing the Squadron Hawks T-shirt right now that Justin created. He also has my favorite shirt that he's created. In fact, it's my favorite Magic shirt that I have, and one of my favorite shirts that I have is the one that looks like the Obama Hope artwork, but it says Nope, and it's a picture of the guy, on the counterspell with his spell fizzling. And it just says Nope at the bottom, and I just love that.
Justin's, I just want to check real quick. Justin's mulliganing, right? Like, can we just get it? Okay. Just a minute. Oh, to 5.
Okay, so yeah, Justin Adams.
Justin on a mull of 5.
But
Valakut's not so good on the mulligans. Has no way to increase its card quality or really dig to replace those cards.
Right.
You just kind of like cultivate and explore your way into a Primeval Titan. Hope it's good enough a lot of the time.
Why doesn't Valakut play Jace? I mean,
I know, right?
It's just an obvious solution, I think.
I think that's what rug players everywhere thought.
Yeah. Like, hey, why
don't we play
Valakut
Jace? Oh, why don't we play Mana Lake? Why don't we play a different Titan? Oh, this deck's way better.
Yeah. No killer mountains. I'll just kill you with guys.
No.
Yep.
We played Shuffle, then we played Deck Check, then we played Dice Game, then we played Shuffle the deck again. We played
Oh.
Well, at least we're not seeing endless call.
I know. I just want to see some magic right now.
Right.
Come on, guys. I understand. We got to fully randomize this beast, but
Spencer's, doing some magic of his own, making Justin Mulligan.
we got Explorer, Tumble Magnet.
And
Valakut.
Wow, that's terrible.
I've kept some Renzi ones. Oh, he's going. No green, whatever.
Forget it.
Forest on top of the deck. Windmill it. Please windmill it.
Spencer with a.
There's not a forest. There isn't a forest in like the top 2 cards of this deck. I'd probably just be throwing this one away soon. Oof.
Well, he can cast Searing Blaze.
It's true. This opponent might put him on mono red Valakut.
Yeah.
It's a popular deck. When M11 came out, if you told me Viscera Seer was going to be played in Standard,
I would not have.
I would have called you a liar.
Yeah.
Oh, we peeled an Evolving Wilds, I think? So, yeah. Not bad. Now, it's interesting you play the unkept Gatekeeper here, because Valakut lists, a lot of them have begun shifting towards creatures, especially with Green Sun Zenith.
Right.
You got stuff like Overgrown Battlement, which can really put a stymie on both your forces and accelerate their game plan.
Players for the two-headed giant
So,
challenge.
I guess he saw that his opponent was vulnerable and just wanted to get that bear down,
Paper over near the feature match area.
which is, of course, pretty reasonable play.
Go mob aim, and he will take care of you.
Will, can we get the deck list? Dark Tutelage. That card, if you show me an M11, I was excited about that card getting played.
See, I looked at it and went,
Like, I was aware that it's certainly not a strong card on the face of it, but it's the sort of card when I read it, I definitely am just like, I want this card to be good. And in Vampires, it provides
It's perfect for
an
Vampire.
incredible amount of resiliency. Like, you just go long so much. It's basically just Phyrexian Arena a lot of the time, the way the costs average out, and we have Highborn to compensate against the
it's
control
Bob
decks.
on
It's
an
absurd.
enchantment, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it is. And that's when Dark Confidant was printed, I remember people talking about it, saying this is perfect for an aggro deck. Like, this is the exact kind of thing an aggro deck needs. Now, this obviously isn't a creature, so it's not as aggro, but I mean, it still fits pretty well in a strategy that just needs more cards to keep up the pressure. You know?
One of the beautiful things about Dark Tutelage actually is against the control decks it's best against, like blue-white. They can't afford to be bringing in disenchant answers to it. Celestial Purge is really the only thing they have, and if they haven't decided to run it, they basically just have to decide to play the Dark Tutelage game. Like, if you have it, they're just going to have to overcome it.
Yeah, exactly. So, Justin did manage to find a green and happens to have another forest in his
And
hand.
he hit land off
Yeah.
that Explorer, so
He's
that's about as
staying in
good as it gets here.
Yeah. Really digging himself out of that hole he's in, and
Inferno
Spencer.
Titan might be able to salvage this one, actually.
Right. I mean, Spencer really hasn't done too much damage. He's, four literal damage, and that's it. He's got a Dark Tutelage.
We have the actual deck list now. And it looks like a pretty standard Vampires list. I don't see anything too interesting. Captivating Vampire in the main is a little peculiar, but not unheard of at all.
Spencer goes with a second Dark Tutelage. He's just fearlessly gonna make it so he can draw cards.
That is a very bold play, especially when your opponent, like, does he have a way to actually beat like a Primeval Titan if that happened? I'm not sure. I assume he does, but he's fanning his hand really
I mean,
quickly.
here we have Justin, looks like he should be able to drop an Inferno Titan
Yeah.
very soon.
Just from the stand, like, the Valakut deck can burn you out surprisingly, and that's one way it can win a lot of games where it's behind on board, is by just getting you.
I mean,
But-
dropping an Inferno Titan clears the board.
Inferno Titan would be extremely spicy in this position.
Right.
It would reverse momentum. The Tumble Magnets buy you a ton of time. All you have to do is draw a real spell after that.
He's got the land.
Yep. And boom, boom,
There's your
boom.
There go your vampires.
Now, Inferno Titan is getting a little more play in Valakut as a way to increase its threat density.
And it's just good against the Squadron Hawks.
Justin's also main decking Acidic Slimes, which a lot of people are doing because they have Green Sun Zenith now. And the Tumble Magnets, of course, we've seen her in the main, and that's an interesting choice. Very strong against the swords. Scrying and leaving card, it looks like. Yep. Let's see what we got. Lightning Bolt, a solid one. And Swamp.
Seems not so bad.
Bloodghast here, and a bunch of lands, I think. I actually don't know if I
Yeah.
saw a spell in the rest of that hand. Beyond the ones we just revealed. Double Marsh Flats, yep. Wow, he is in trouble.
Yeah, he is. That's crazy after Justin mulligans the 5 and keeps pretty much a terrible 5-card hand.
Yep, just back in it very suddenly,
Bloodghast
even
is gonna
against
do nothing.
Double Dark Tutelage.
I mean, did he played an untapped, or he played that forest.
He played the Swamp he
I mean,
revealed.
swamp. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Shouldn't he have played a marsh flats, don't you think?
I think he probably should have played a Marsh Flats so that when this Bloodghast dies, assuming it dies, which it probably
can
will,
crack
he
it
can
and
crack
then
it and get it back in
to
his
Chump
turn.
Block, right? Or
It's possible he's planning to just Lightning Bolt his opponent at the end step, and then that way he'll be able to do it regardless.
I see.
But oh, he's just sending three to the dome.
Yeah,
I do not
wow.
believe he hit the Bloodghast there.
Just-
You.
yeah. I'm gonna just bash.
Or
him.
as Patrick Sullivan would say, upstairs.
That's awesome. Wow, that was a crazy top 8 last week. Especially when Patrick plays the double cough. That was quite interesting.
Double Tumble Magnet's pretty interesting right here. Wow.
Yeah. Nice Bloodghast.
Oh, well, I think you hold the bolt here so that you can double bolt Inferno Titan.
Yeah, I mean, what's a bolt gonna do?
If you draw a bolt off that Dark Tutelage now, and
Yeah.
you're just getting run over by an Inferno Titan,
Yeah.
Oh.
There's a go for the throw.
That'll do the trick,
That'll,
though.
I think he went Inferno Titan.
Never
Inferno
mind,
Titan's
guys.
throat's a little in
Forget
trouble.
I said anything.
Well,
Who's
he could
got the
have waited,
chips?
right?
2 answers to Inferno Titan off the top of the deck.
Yeah.
Solid, but he has taken a lot of damage already from his Dark Tutelage, so he might even just be able to squeeze this one out just off the Tumble Magnets.
Uh-oh.
Just let the Tutelages finish him.
He knocked a card off the top of his deck. I don't think he can see it.
Yeah,
but
it's just they're gonna have to
getting
They're
judged.
just making sure the judge clears how he replaces
Right.
it.
He certainly can't see it. I mean, I don't think he can.
Was it
At
his
that
card
angle.
for turn? Or?
No. it
Okay.
was after the, I mean, I think
Judges
O's gonna
ruled
make
that they're
him
going to shuffle.
Okay.
Judges ruled that he should stop shuffling.
Yeah, it looks like he's in mid shuffle here.
Judges taking the deck. This is peculiar. Okay. All right, and we're shuffling. Yeah, the Dark Tutelage, like I said, Valakut can just sometimes get you. He's on 6 life now. If his opponent draws, if his opponent has Mountain Primeval Titan at any point in this game, it's just going to be over.
I said something about Bloodghast blocking. I just misspoke.
No, yeah, Bloodghast can't block, of course. We're referring to whether or not Justin would decide to burninate it.
Right.
And it appeared he did not to get his opponent within double Lightning Bolt range, which is naturally pretty important for the Valakut deck. This game looks like it's all about those magnets, though. Now that he's at 6 life, he's just going to try and wait him out on those Dark Tutelages. Without a Viscera Seer to control what's happening,
Yeah.
he's rolling dice.
It's really become an interesting game from what looked like a terrible, terrible situation. For
Can't fight the
Justin.
top of the deck.
Right.
And Bloodghast will successfully attack. It's definitely interesting. Justin's got a lot of live ones here, and he doesn't actually have to do anything to technically win the game. Oh, Green Sun Zenith
Yeah,
with
I
the
think
Mountain?
a Green
That's
Sun
game
Zenith.
over.
Yeah.
Mountain, Primeval Titan, Mountain, Dome. And that's definitely, those are the hands of a man who said, Primeval Titan, face.
Yeah. It's like you got
Spencer
it.
probably,
Can you do anything about it?
maybe wants him to show, or he's just checking.
How does that? Okay.
Make
so
sure
you
this is what's happening, yeah.
He's like, now I have.
Making sure the Valakut will trigger the right ways, yeah, that's how it works, guy. That's unfortunate. I'm sure Spencer is kind of in disbelief to have lost this game. If he could
Yeah.
see it from where we were sitting,
He
he'd
would
be
be
even
really-
more
yeah,
disbelief.
I know, wow.
His opponent started with just a Valakut,
My opponent played
ramped
turn
straight
one
to
Valakut,
7.
A turn 2 Mountain, and suddenly somehow won.
The literal peel 6
Right.
lands off the top of the deck.
Yeah,
Like,
pretty
he
much.
actually
he's
just
he's like
Yeah.
Forest Explorer into
Wow.
Forest Terramorphic Expand. Like wow, absolutely
Well,
awesome.
the reason I might theorize you'd want to waste the damage on the Blasted Urn Man asked the Bloodghast. One of the only ways you're losing in this spot is A, if Inferno Titan dies, and B, if that Dark Tutelage just hits him into a bunch of burn spells. He's got Lava Claw reaches, and if he hits like Bolt, then he can just get you from a higher life total. So just preserving 2 damage can be really huge in that spot when you're on 10 versus like 8.
Right, and the fact that Titan doesn't necessarily have to be a bolt. It's
Yeah.
like an arc lightning. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I'll kill the Bloodghast and still do 2.
If I know my opponent has just drawn a Bolt off Dark Tutelage, I'm a little more likely to probably take my chance and kill that Bloodghast. But I mean, it obviously worked out the other way. So kudos,
Yeah.
It was definitely it was a choice, which is all I wanted to really point out.
Right. It was definitely an option, and then the fact that he could have played like Marshflax and been ready to just get the Bloodghast right back.
Yeah. If there was a Marshflash in play, obviously you ignore the Bloodghast.
Yeah.
So perhaps him actually playing the Swamp was an attempt to get him to direct a point to the Bloodghast.
Right. Yeah. Maybe it was a
Which
whole lot
is
of mind
debatable,
games
yeah.
happening.
Those are the kinds of plays a lot of people don't think about. I know I was watching Jerry actually play a game between the buys, and we were asking, because he had it was complex where he could equip Creeping Tar Pit with Sword of Feast Famine, or Gideon with Sword of Feast Famine, or like play Squadron. A lot of different things going on. And he wound up losing the game. He's like, I don't know what I could do there. And I'm like, well, I don't know what you were trying to do there, because like, if you equip it to the Tar Pit, obviously you're just getting through, but you might want to put your sword on the Gideon to incentivize a block. His opponent had an Inferno Titan that he was trying to, that eventually won the game. But it's like, if you can trick the Inferno Titan into blocking by giving him such a juicy block,
Right.
such as a Gideon with a Sword of Feast and
Right.
Famine, like save 8 damage and your opponent doesn't get the sword bonus. So, there are definitely moments when you can just try and manipulate what you want your opponent to do. And you have to do a lot of that with onboard things, it's not like you can trick people into playing the way you want. You kind of have to present them with a scenario
Yeah,
that they're going to want to
that's
take.
one of the hardest things to do, just in Magic, is trying to make your opponent think something. You know, it's just it's the Jedi mind trick kind of thing, or present something.
Incept them, as it were.
Yeah, basically incept them.
Incept
exactly.
them.
You need to do some inception. You got to make them. You got to present to them a board state that makes them think a certain thing. Think that you're doing something that you're not. I think even Flores has written things about that. How he.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't remember the specific game, but I know I was reading. I've heard him talk about it before, where he makes his opponent think that it's about like damage. I think, and he ended up decking the guy. It was years ago. I think it was in some sort of like a PTQ or something. But it's that kind of thing where
The most
you
famous
set your opponent up.
I think the most famous recent case of that was the top 8 of Pro Tour Paris. Chapin versus Paul Riesel. Paul decked Chapin in a game that just seemed completely unlosable.
Wow, that was in the quarterfinals.
That was in the quarterfinals.
They did not, they didn't
If you,
they didn't record it. The whole
If
thing's
you
not
if you read the coverage though, it's like just the idea of it was incredible. Like Pat plays like multiple worm coil engines. He's just like attacking, and Paul just hangs in there, and then eventually like Pat was so far ahead that he literally drew himself to death.
That's
Even Pat himself was citing. He was like, I could not see a way that I could lose the game.
Yeah.
And then my library had no cards, and I realized
Yeah.
the way it was that Paul was going to beat
Wow.
me. And that was one of the most incredible games. Like I've obviously, given what I end up doing for a living, I'm
Judge A.
reading feature match coverage can be
Right.
very visual for me. I understand a lot of people can, but just reading that coverage, I was.
Yeah, now it makes me want to read that because I didn't actually obviously get to see it because it wasn't on video, and I happened to not be there that day. Even though I was in Paris. I was there. I just
Happened to not be in Paris.
I was not. I was in Paris. But
I understand.
I didn't actually. I was
Attention
in
players
the
standard
city and not the
number
venue.
two. Please
But
report
anyway,
to the stage where Judge A
I realize I
is going
tend
to
to
get
not
started.
read a lot of the coverage
Again, players
if
from
I can
standard
watch
box
it.
number 2.
Yep.
To
One of
that
the
stage
perks
where
of my
Judge
job
A
is
will get you
definitely
started.
reading Magic coverage,
Yeah.
reading everything about Magic. I spend a good few hours a day just. All right, let's load up Mozilla. Let's go.
Yeah. So Gavin's article this week, he talked about like the myths, and
Yes.
one of the ones he brought up was the Mike Long story. And
Yes.
that was, when you said one of the more famous mind tricks, I thought that's where you were going, but then you
Nope,
said
that
recent.
is a very famous one.
Right, and it's a really interesting story where people had one perception of what happened, but apparently it was a little different. We'll have to talk about that in a minute and see what's actually happening here.
Justin's mulliganing a
Well,
6-land
he's-
overgrown battlement hand this time.
Yeah,
So-
seems like a good plan.
Good mulligan on that one.
And it worked for him last time. I mean, he can go all the way to 5, to a terrible 5.
Yeah,
still
a
win.
terrible 5. A nigh unplayable 5. Good enough.
So the thing, as far as I understand it, Mike Long's playing against, was it Mark Justice?
Yeah, I believe so.
In one of the very early Pro Tours with a Cadaverous Bloom. What is it? Prosbloom.
Prosbloom,
Is
yep.
the name of the deck.
And he was running only a single drain life, whereas most lists ran 2 to 3.
Right. So he had literally one win condition. Is that right? Like
Yes.
that was the win condition.
He was dead to an extract, which fortunately for him did not exist at the time.
Yeah. So, but he set things up in a way that he basically mind tricked Mark into believing that he must be running 2 drain lives because in some earlier
In a game he wound up losing, he discarded the drain
yeah, he
life
discarded the
anyway.
drain life, so it made it look like, obviously he must have another one. He wouldn't have discarded it as only win condition. So later when
It affected Mark's decision making.
yeah, absolutely. So I mean, if you actually want to read the details of that, check out Gavin Verhey's article on
It's
Star
good,
City.
good little Magic Mythbusters article.
Yeah, exactly. So it's on the select side, so
I'm sure all the Magic historians out there appreciate Gavin
Clarifying.
setting the record straight, as it were. Last Raider, a little more aggressive a start in this game. But Justin's hand is actually pretty strong. He's got Explore, some lands, a Primeval Titan.
there's an Evolving Wild.
Yep.
Desk, once again,
Double
will
Calastria
introduce
Highborn
you
over
to
there.
report to the tournament desk.
So what 2-drop are we playing?
Yeah.
the real question.
Yeah, it's just, you said he had Calastria Highborn, right?
Yep.
I missed.
You don't really want to present that to a Bolt here, but he does
Right.
have 2, and if you can deploy both of them quickly, then he can really punish his opponent. Although he probably won't run out both out of fear of Pyroclasm.
Yeah.
So probably run out one, and then if you remember the final from Indy, I don't know if you watched it. It was this matchup, Vampires against Valakut, and Matthew Landstrom actually beat Drew Levin by running out pretty much this combination. Like, he just had 2 Vampires, and just attacking with them over and over, while Drew sandbagged the Slagstorm until it was too late. When he finally played the Slagstorm, he was basically dead already.
Right.
So this is the kind of board position Vampires wants to generate, where you're forced to make a response as you just take 1,000,000 damage over and over. So I guess we'll see how Spencer wants to play it on the next turn. Because if he starts flooding more creatures, we'll know, he's more of the aggro him out school.
Yeah.
I think he might drop 1 creature. He's got a pretty hefty hand. So
yeah,
he might drop like another Lacerator. Right? That would be a
something
reasonable
he's not
play.
Something he's not so worried about losing.
Explore into a tap land probably here, Valakut, unless he has another Searcher.
Yep. There's the Valakut. Good call. For those of you just joining us, I'm Joey Pasco here with Glenn Jones. We're at the Star City Games Open Series here in Memphis, Tennessee, and we're watching the standard portion. We're in round 5 watching Spencer Miller with Black-Red Vampires play against Justin Adams, who's got a Valakut list. This is game 2. Justin Adams won game 1 off of a mulligan to 5, and I believe those 5 were Valakut, Inferno Titan, Tumble Magnet, something else.
Yeah, I don't remember the other card was.
It may have been Explore, but he didn't have a green.
No,
mana.
it was Explore,
right.
Yep, you're right.
He didn't have a green, but he managed to pull that one out with like several lands off the top of his deck.
The full amount.
So
he did just add the 1-drop. He's missing a land, though. That makes this play pretty bold. Yeah, if I was missing the land, I would not have played that 1-drop. You want to just continue. Like, 4 a turn is enough at this point.
Yeah.
4 a turn, 2 more attacks, and he can no longer clear the board without dying. So I think you just hold open your 2 mana and continue shipping it in. As soon as you hit a 3rd mana, adding in the 3rd guy could be reasonable, but you really don't want to only get 1 trigger off that Highborn when you have that far ahead of position.
Right. I agree. Well, he's gonna have to rebuild here, and looks like he's gonna throw out a Highborn. Yep.
I actually think he's just really far back at this juncture. He's got a full grip, but
yeah.
All Justin really has to do is keep that board from getting crazy. And with his opponent under such duress on mana, it's not going to be very difficult.
Battlement.
Yeah.
That'll stop the bleed. And we see Justin's got a Pyroclasm in his hand, so even if Spencer starts to try to rebuild.
See, this is just such a grim spot because he go for the throat, kills the Overner Battle, and gets you in for the 2 damage, but you're not expanding your board at all, and all the Valakut player literally has to do is live. The longer they live, the closer you are to dead.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of how it is with most aggro decks. Like, if people survive the first wave, and you haven't done like a really good amount of damage.
Vampires has impressive inevitability with the Highborn, but the problem is this position, where you just don't have lands, you can't expand your position while removing creatures.
Right, he's already wasted 1 Highborn, and
yeah.
Lose this one if it becomes too big.
This is going to become a Lotus Cobra, probably, maybe an Overgrown Battlement.
Right.
He has a Terramorphic Expanse, which leads me to kind of think he might go Cobra. Nope, Battlement.
Battlement, okay.
It actually doesn't have
Lotus
Cobras,
in the deck. Yeah, I was just figured I'd check.
That's where he got those room for those Tumble Magnets. That's interesting, though. Zenith without Cobras.
Yeah.
Peculiar.
Maybe he just didn't have them.
Yeah. And I think we're going to see a wash, rinse, repeat of the previous turn here probably now. Yeah, Spencer's not excited about to go for the throat, go.
Yeah.
2 a turn is not going to finish this game.
Interestingly, though, that even if he would not have played that second Vampire, Justin having a Pyroclasm, I feel like wouldn't have. I don't know.
Well, we would have experienced the previous turn. Basically, I think he would have gone like, Lacerator or other guy. He has a Pulse Tracker or whatever. I don't know if he just drew it, but something like that, probably. And then his opponent would have to choose between Pyroclasming now or waiting for a little more. Play the Battlement either way. But his opponent would certainly be at a little less life. And he'd still have the other Highborn. He'd still have this Highborn at the ready. I really like just applying that perfect amount of pressure, generally speaking.
Yeah, just enough to where it's like you're
Oh, he just searched out a
overextend.
mountain, and I think he's asking if he can go get a forest. And he just realized he grabbed the wrong land. That may be what was questioned there.
Give this
He has a
Spencer
Primeval
window.
Titan and an Avenger of Zendikar in hand, so if he does not hit another forest, that's going to be a problem.
That could be quite a opportunity he just gave Spencer.
Yeah.
I don't know if Spencer has the cards to
Well,
capitalize.
if he gets a forest, he just needs stone anything that taps for mana, but
Attention
now
Magic
he's actually
players.
drawing kind of thin.
In
Tumble man.
Commander Chaos
It's not
4
gonna do
versus
it.
number 4. Commander number 4 to the event stage, please.
I think I magnet. I don't think I popped the Pyroclasm here. If I magnet, he has to expand more creatures into this board,
Right, and
which
then
in
you
turn
Pyroclasm,
strengthens the
right.
Pyroclasm.
Seems right to me.
His opponent's real likely to go Pulse Tracker Lacerator right here. And that'll just be a complete blowout if it happens. Oh, he hit a
Finally,
land.
the third land, yeah.
It's a big deal. That might change some of his sequencing. 8's a big difference from 6 in this matchup because of the presence of Lightning Bolt. Spencer may have sided them out. A lot of players do against Valakut. But you can't always just write it off. It is still a really efficient burn spell. And you also got to question what exactly you're bringing in. Like, obviously, he's bringing in the Demon of Death's Gate, but there's not a whole lot of other stuff in his sideboard. He's boarded really heavily against Cobble
Chad
with
Meyer.
Crush, Shatter,
To the event stage, please. Your EDH train is waiting on you. Chad
Bloodghast.
Meyer.
Oh, he has,
to the
yeah,
event stage,
Bloodghast. That makes
please.
this play much stronger. Yep, now he gets in for 2 and holds open that swamp, I hope. I don't think it would be right for us to drop another guy here. Yeah. Alrighty.
So,
Now, if this was the play, though, I'm pretty sure you want to leave that Marsh Flats uncracked.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, why crack it when you can...
You just want to guarantee you can get back Bloodghast next
Right,
turn.
like Bloodghast right now is a 2-1 that can't block and does nothing else if you don't top another land.
I think
Right?
you should
So
have...
No, he's got... Oh, he's just using...
I mean, this same play would have happened probably, but
right, he would have been able to crack the
like
Marsh Flats.
if your
and
opponent
get-
doesn't have a Pyroclasm, this play is just better. I
Yeah.
think leaving the Marsh Flats open is just better.
But leaving the Marsh Flats, even... Okay, so the Pyroclasm happens...
Like, you're gonna have to crack it against
Oh,
the
right,
Highborn
right,
either way.
right. Yeah.
But if he doesn't have a way to kill your guys, like if he's just like, you know, wall up on you.
So, Gatekeeper takes out a wall, battlements.
And did he just forget his Bloodghast? Where did Bloodghast go?
He forgot his Bloodghast.
Wow. That's such a huge important
He
thing.
was so worried about getting that Gatekeeper out there. I wonder if he realizes it yet.
I don't know.
Late now, but I mean now.
I mean, he
that
top
is-
decked the land he needed, which was the sickest part.
Right. Wow, that could have been
That could have been
another
it.
Another 2. Wow.
Tracking pulses over here. Tracking pulses. Can you see his other card? I think it's red, but I don't know what it
It does
is.
look like it's red. What is he?
Attention Magic players. Looking for Chad
I
Meyer.
feel like it has to be a bolt.
Chad, if you're out there,
What else
please
could it
make
be?
your way to the event stage right now. Chad Meyer.
It looks like Bolt.
I don't know if what it is though. Like, it doesn't really look like a bolt, but I feel like I don't know what other red card is in his
Right.
list that he would be playing.
Yeah.
Like bolt, or I mean, like, did he really bring in Crush against those Tumble Magnets? That doesn't seem likely. And if he did, why wouldn't he have already
didn't
played
he
it?
use Right. Maybe we're just.
Oh, I think he noticed his Bloodghast now. He just looked at that graveyard. Yep. That was very unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, top deck a land then, Spencer.
Yep.
That'll do it.
He has a lot of live ones, of course. Any land, a Bloodghast. A Highborn is effectively the game,
I realized it like right after they came into play. I was
as
like,
his opponent will certainly not be beating this board without killing a creature.
Yeah, that Tumble Magnet's only got one more.
Nope, he needed a land for that Avenger right there. Primeval Titan's good, but it's not actually good enough in this position. He's dead to still a lot of stuff. Yep, going for it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like
Sure.
it's his only opportunity.
It's a crush. Yeah, it is a crush. Interesting. Like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you have...
Why, yeah, used it when it was give you an opportunity to.
Yeah. I mean, now it's fine, like, of course.
Right.
It might still be enough. Like, now he's drawing infinite live. Any burn spell, any land, Highborn, a Bloodghast, go for the throat. What else do we have here? No, that's not a kill.
He's got nothing in hand, or one.
Yeah,
Is it one
he has
card?
one card. It's a pulse tracker,
Okay.
which he didn't play last turn. Which I believe it's pulse tracker, and if he does, I believe he should have played it. At this point, he's not really beating a sweeper anyway. So, like, if his opponent had played a Pyroclasm just now, the pulse tracker in his hand is not going to win the game.
Right.
So you might as well just go ahead and play it out there and try to win the game instantly.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think Spencer played this game a little awkwardly.
What does he have?
Gatekeeper? Is that Gatekeeper is another one of the instant kills. Yep.
Yeah,
Got him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
That was a close one. I think Justin might have had it if he searched for a forest on that turn. He ended up having to take an extra turn to find that second green with a
because
search.
Right.
So that would have been huge. One extra turn of Primeval Titan.
Well, that's what we were
Spencer
saying.
quite happy to have gotten away after that error. He's sitting there berating himself. I can tell. He's just like, I can't believe I did it. I can't believe it. But no, it's a new game now. Ask Ricky for them.
So yeah, I mean, it looked like Spencer was in a bad position after that. After overextending into a slag storm, and then Justin gave his. We were saying, is this going to be enough for Spencer to, capitalize on Justin's error of grabbing a mountain instead of a forest? And it was just enough. It looked like.
Yeah. No, I think just enough is exactly the word you might want to use there.
It's another example of how such a seemingly minor error can just completely lose you the game. And it's funny because it was so much earlier. It wasn't even like a minor error that,
Judge Bruce to the event.
Oh, one of our listeners pointed out we actually, if you play the Marsh Flats, and I actually should have known this one because I saw this happen a bunch of times at the Invitational. If you stack your triggers correctly, you can actually both get the blood gas back and drain the 2 life.
Okay.
By playing Marsh
wasn't
Flats,
sure about
making
that
it
either.
even better to hold the Marsh Flats. So, I think
he's not. It's almost like he's never played with bloodghast and fetches before. You know what I mean? Because that's what we saw in game 1. I'm not to say he really did, but it seems like that's where he's.
I think he's honestly just. I think he's a little shaken. The mold of 5. You're on the camera. Your opponent molds to 5, and then he just bashes you.
Right.
Probably a little awkward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I didn't mean to say.
Sure.
I just mean
I
maybe he's not familiar with the deck and the intricacies. Like, and maybe he is, but
I think it's
like
just
game 1 we saw him do the same thing where we thought, why didn't he play the fetch land? But we were saying maybe it was a mind game thing. Maybe he was trying to draw damage from the.
It is kind of a weird play. A lot of people don't realize the profit of playing a fetch. Like, they think about how you can play a fetch and then crack it in Ender and stuff like that. But there's profit to just playing it to have it.
Right.
Like, even for just turns down the line, leaving it available.
Yeah, exactly.
Can actually be very profitable.
You reminded me of something that Chapin said about Mindslaver. That the same kind of thing where, like, you don't have to use Mindslaver for it to actually have a huge effect on the way your opponent plays. And I just always found that comment interesting.
We have Tunnel Magnet, Inferno Titan, land, Primeval Titan, land. Are we short on forest? No, we have a forest. What's I think our last card on the left, that's the most important card in this hand for sure. I think it was a Green Sun Zenith.
I think it was too.
Which means that's like pretty good hand. Not amazing or anything, but strong. Got Bolt, bunch of dudes, 1 land. Oh, he has. That's 8. Is that 8 cards?
It's really hard to.
That looks like 8 cards.
Maybe.
I believe he may have accidentally drawn 8 cards. Yes, he's fanning it to the judge. No?
That's 7, is it?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, sorry. That one on the right looks like it was 2 cards.
Like it was
okay.
2 cards. That's what I was thinking.
He was fanning it weirdly. I was like, what? Okay, he's just in the tank on his 1 lander on 7. All right.
I thought they called the judge or something.
I thought he was fanning it to the judge. He was like, this many. Like, okay. All right, good. A disciplined mulligan on the.
Attention players, $10 draft.
I don't know. That hand was really strong. Like
$10 draft number 3 to the event stage, please. Where Judge Abe is going to get you started.
One of the interesting things about that hand is actually if you miss on the land on that first draw step, you have, like if you have Bloodghast in that kind of situation, you can just brick the land and pitch a Bloodghast because you're on the draw.
Right. Yeah.
Which that can actually
Maybe
be
that's
a
what
pretty
he was-
reasonable play. It'll give you a turn 2 Bloodghast. You'll still be able to play a land and another guy. Your clock won't be as embarrassing as it might be otherwise. And your
maybe he just
Bloodghast
wants
will
a
obviously be
little more.
very strong. If your opponent opens on a Pyroclasm, like that sequence is much better than like turn 1 Lacerator, turn 2 whatever,
Yeah.
because you're just so much more resilient. Those are the sorts of like mild things that come up
Right.
relatively not often, but
And I'm wondering if that was the kind of thing that he was considering when he was in the tank about that one.
I know I saw a very entertaining game in San Jose where Greg Hatch began with, pass turn, pitch Vengevine, pass turn, pitch
Yeah.
Vengevine, playing elves. And it was definitely like, for his opponent.
Vengevine. Well, I want to see more Vengevines today, I think. I'd like to see some Jumanji lists doing well, maybe.
I think Vengevine is just a heck of a card. I think
Yeah.
Titans are really keeping it down.
Exactly.
And-
It's a shame because I love Vengevine. Like, it's probably my favorite green creature ever.
It's a nice design.
Yeah.
Card provokes a lot of thought. It's skill intensive. There's a lot of complexity to it.
Right,
So.
it's very build around me, too. You can't throw it in a
Yeah.
control deck. That's the only creature. It's,
Got a nice 6 here. I see a couple of lands that go for the throat. A Bloodghast, I believe.
yeah, it's Bloodghast.
Keep it.
Looks like he is, yep. So Justin leads on a forest.
That's a Black Cleave Cliff Seedrew and Viscera Seer for turn 1.
And there it is.
The beats. We got the beats.
Attention Magic players, will Mark Simmons please report to the judge's station? Once again, will Mark Simmons please report to the judge's station?
That's a Crush, which he did. We realized sideboard in for those tumble magnets, which is very
Yeah.
interesting. I think I kind of like it.
Yeah, I mean, it made a difference last game, but I feel like if it were a lightning bolt, it would have
Sure.
made more of a difference.
It would have been basically the same as a lightning bolt, but in this position, I feel like the Crush is pretty reasonable. Because your opponent can make. One of the things I like about it is it'll trick your opponent. They're going to have that tumble magnet. They'll be like, all right, this card's fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to protect me, and then at the end of the turn, it's just gone. You kind of pull the rug out from under them on that.
Yeah.
And as
Well,
opponents,
Justin is aware of it being, since it did get crushed last time.
As opponent's probably deciding between the Zenith or a Magnet here, I think, was his decision. So he's going to Zenith for Overgrown Battlement.
Yeah, Battlement.
Now, I'll be interested to see how he, if he blocks here. I know a lot of players advocate not blocking in these positions to avoid losing your battlement to a burn spell. And then there are players who advocate blocking to get value if your opponent has a Gatekeeper. If your opponent has a Gatekeeper, one would hope they would play it pre-combat, but that's not always the case. Sometimes they just bluff in the damage. Or if you blocked, burn spell another creature is the better play. Stuff like that.
Alright, so.
Seems very determined here. Gotta get through that Overgrown Battlement. What's he gonna do? Land's a good start.
Gatekeeper would be nice if he had it, but.
I think we probably just go for the throat and hold Crush unless we have a Gatekeeper. We have a Captivating Vampire.
Well, not what I expected.
Not what I expected either. That's a very bold play. If his opponent has a
Pre-combat
Slag
type,
Storm, he
yeah.
can just get so blown out here. That was... Whew. His opponent does not have a Slag Storm. His opponent actually... Oh, it is a land. He has an Inferno Titan, but he's a little ways off there. And it's not even that strong because of the timing. He's going to play a Tumble Magnet, and that's going to buy enough, It'll get value against a Crush here.
Yeah.
He's got Harrow into Tumble Magnet is probably just the play. Yeah. Now, does he get Mountain Forest and be a gambling man? Or does he go for Forest?
Well, we saw him in that position last game, and he accidentally didn't grab a forest. So,
Forest. No gamble.
I am going to go with consistency over power here.
Yep. I approve of that play here.
Yeah, I think I would have went far.
There's no
as
need
far
to
as-
just lose
yeah.
the game on the spot if you lose an over in a battlement next turn.
Yeah.
And he's pretty likely to be totally honest. So, I imagine Spencer, unless he does something very peculiar, will just go for the throat and hold the crush.
Yeah, that seems like. Well, he's gonna definitely. Yeah. Let's see what happens here.
Assuming his opponent
Yeah,
plays the
exactly.
tumble magnet, which
Yeah, he's not gonna
seems
crush
like a
it.
given, but
Right. I just assumed he would.
no.
Instead of checking the phone, wait for it.
All right. Land off the top is not ideal.
There is the tumble magnet.
He did not go for the throat.
Yeah, he didn't go for the throat. Didn't crush.
That's
But
interesting.
Did he?
I mean-
did Justin just decline to use the magnet? I guess.
Apparently so. Wow. That's actually, very nice for Spencer, who's just going to get a nice little bit of value out of his crush. Lava Claw reaches. And pass the turn. He's planning to go for the throat of potential Titan and crush the magnet and just
Yeah.
keep squeezing in damage.
Yeah, he can.
It's possible that Justin will... Yeah, okay, he goes for the front. I'm like, it's possible he even goes for a Primeval. You're just
Right,
feeling
yeah.
kind of safe, like, whatever. Opponent's not doing much. Sack to Scry. That's going on the bottom because it's a swamp.
Yeah, I was gonna say what was it that I couldn't do?
Yep. And we'll sack to Scry again. He's thinking if he wants to sack the Blood Gas, maybe. Before that happens. Probably not. Really? Interesting. I mean, he's scrying all these lands to the bottom.
Begin the first of 5 turns. That is time.
And I don't know what's in his hand, but
What was
is that
that?
a go for the throat?
I
think so.
believe it is, but that's not that good right here.
No, I mean, 'cause
At the
he's
same
got
time, he
one.
might lose if he doesn't take it.
No, he doesn't take it.
No?
No.
Oh well. End of the turn, kill 2 of your permanents.
Right. Seems good.
Does he have another land in hand? Is that why you let the Blood Gas die?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Oh, he
I'm
didn't go for the
surprised
throat of the
he not went for
Titan.
throat.
Is that not a go for the throat, or are we just completely unable to see? It's possible we just whiffed on this. I actually think we did. I don't.
Yeah, I don't
now
see
that
it
I
go
don't
for
see
the
it.
throat. I thought it was there.
I think the Viscera Seer just
Maybe that's
deceived
what it
us
was.
on turn 1,
Yeah.
probably. Well, then if that was a go for the throat, he revealed on top of the deck, I'd have
Yeah,
definitely
why wouldn't he
kept
take it?
it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess the camera angle is not a particularly good at identifying go for the
Right.
throat. Sorry about that, guys.
Just having trouble seeing the cards that aren't on the board.
Lava Claw reaches with the block and the pump. And Bolt to finish the deed.
Says, all right, I'll
Probably not enough
Trade a
because
bunch of
we
stuff.
have a big man.
Yeah.
And 2 Zeniths now. Oh, this game's over.
Oh, there.
This game is one for the record books. Record that. Donnie
It's
circled
a
local
Valakut
players
and
for
a
you.
mountain. Okay, so what do we know about these guys?
These are just guys from Memphis.
Oh, cool. Okay.
If you want to single them out at any point. Donnie Nolan was kind enough to circle all of the players from Memphis that are attending the tournament. So we'll have get to keep you up to date on those guys. All right. Well, this looks pretty much close to over.
Yeah, I don't know that. Spencer
We're
will
gonna
come
play a
back from
Primeval
that.
Titan every turn of the game until it's over.
Yeah.
And the game's probably gonna be over before we're out of Primeval Titans in this one. So.
He forgot Bloodghast again.
Oh.
He missed it.
Yeah.
He's done it twice now.
Wow. That's too bad.
Oh, Zenith for another.
Au naturel,
Oh,
buddy.
gosh,
Au
wow.
naturel.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I mean, just that's big. Just those are guys that are just so big.
Yeah.
Zenith through Titan.